Okay, and we're live on YouTube now.
Hi, everyone.
While we have a minute, Hennessis, we got in touch with that group about June 1st.
June 1st,
Yeah.
not sure which group is that, sorry.
Oh, the group home on,
The APS home.
yes.
Okay. I was planning to invite them for the next meeting.
Yeah,
June 1st.
June 1st.
Yeah.
So we'll set that up likely next week, and we'll put it together. And when you have a full agenda, we'll send that out.
Great.
Hi, everybody.
Pat,
So,
so I have 6 o'clock now. I'm going to start the webinar. That just means the attendees are going to join, and you should start to see the attendee room populate now, hopefully. Perhaps in a minute. Okay, now we're starting to get attendees. Good. Maria, I just checked emails. Would you just monitor emails throughout the meeting? Thank you.
May not get many tonight because of I think there's the debate.
Yeah,
there's two debates. Yeah, there's a city council district 38 and the first mayoral debate.
Yep.
Both very important.
Good
Yeah.
competition.
Yeah, I signed up for the council debate, but they never sent me a link. Oh, well, so you got me here.
I just want someone to tell me where I can find some of those $100,000 Brooklyn houses.
Yeah, me too. I'd like to know.
Man is completely unaware.
Right.
I joined.
Wow.
Uh-oh. Does somebody have on the YouTube recording?
Sorry, that was me. Trying to on another device so I can get better lighting. I think we can start soon.
Would you like me to start with attendance?
Yeah, I think we have enough people to start.
Okay. We
Yes.
only have a couple of attendees. Should I make them panelists as well?
Why not?
Okay, I will do that right after we do attendance. Good evening, everybody. I'm going to mute everybody while we do attendance, except for myself. And when I call your name, committee members, please unmute yourself, acknowledge your name, and then mute yourself again. And I'm only going to call committee members, and I will note other board members who are here, and later on in the meeting, I will just acknowledge that you're here as well. So let's start with Genesis Aquino.
Here.
Thank you. Antoinette Martinez. Nicholas Azadian.
Here.
Thank you. Joan Body.
Here.
Thank you. Gladys Bruno. Jalixa Camposano. John Fontillis.
I am here.
Thank you. Hector Gonzalez. See if I can get Hector to unmute. We've had this problem before. I do note his attendance on the participant list. John Johnston.
I'm here.
Thank you. Marilyn Melman. Rovika Rajkishan. Maria Roca. John Santori.
I'm here.
Thank you. Elise Shuck.
I'm here. Thanks.
Thank you. I am going to make the attendees panelists now and take it away, Hannah. Genesis?
Oh, sorry, I was muted by mistake. I'm excited to be here today. So welcome everyone. We haven't met in a long time. My name is Genesis Aquino, and I am the new chair of the Housing Committee. Excited for this new role. We also have a new vice chair, Antoinette. I don't know if she's muted right now. She's present now. She will introduce herself, I guess. And I have lived in Sunset Park for about 20, almost in July is going to be 20 years. I work at local businesses in here and schools. And right now I've been working for over 5 years with an organization, Housing Core Answers. And what we do, we help litigants litigants who don't have representation going through Housing Core. So that's what I do for a living, dealing with Housing Core and housing legislation to protect tenants and also small homeowners. And I hope to bring that experience to this committee and welcome everyone. Antoinette, I don't know if you want to introduce yourself.
Yeah, hi everyone, Antoinette Martinez. I've lived in the community for over 30 years and just really excited to advocate for various housing issues and especially affordable housing options in the neighborhood, and looking forward to supporting Genesis and serving the chair, this committee.
Thank you. So we would like to hear from all the members today, especially if you have been a member before, and welcome the new members. So if you can, please introduce yourself. Say if you've been a member, how long have you been a member, and why are you interested in joining or being part of the committee, or why you have been part of the committee for so long if you have been. So not sure who wants to be first. I don't want to volunteer people.
Maybe there's a way to do this. Perhaps folks could raise their hands and we'll call on them. Share your interests in housing, board members. Okay. Oh, well, I have a non-board member and a committee member, non-board member. So would you like me to call on them?
Yes, why not? I
Okay,
guess.
so non-board member, I have Layla Johnson. You can unmute yourself. Layla Johnson,
Okay, am I unmuted?
you're unmuted.
The reason I want to attend this is that I was walking on 4th Avenue, where Zion Lutheran Church used to be. There's a big hole and it says the Homes and Community Renewal Program. And I think it's good that it's having housing. But I wanted to make sure with this brand new housing, they put a closet in every single apartment. I just moved my friend into a new apartment built in 2019 in the building, and there's not a single closet in any single apartment. And they said, Mayor Bloomberg changed the rules. So I just wanted to make sure when they put up this new building that there's at least one closet in the apartment. That's my whole purpose of finding out what that housing is going to be.
So I don't believe we have that information here, but we could certainly reach out to the organization that is developing that. If you want to give us.
Jeremy, just as a question, that would be the property at 416 63rd Street?
Yeah, that's the 63rd Street property. That's Fifth Avenue Committee that's developing that. And-
There is a closet. It appears in every room. I have the drawings.
Oh, thank you. So now we got the answer. Thank you, Nick.
Thank you very much.
John Santori, I have you next.
Hi, everyone. I have lived in Sunset Park since 2016. I grew up in Riverdale in the Bronx. I'm very happy to be here. It's my first time at a housing committee meeting. So I promise to be humble and to not assume that I know more than I do. And I'm looking forward to being part of the committee. And I'm very interested in the issue of housing. I have lived in 3 apartments in Sunset Park. I am a renter. I have always been a renter. All 3 apartments I have shared with 2 adult roommates. My parents were renters their entire adult life until they found a significantly undervalued, lucky apartment in our neighborhood in the Bronx and were able to buy it. And that significantly changed the status of my family. So basically, I'm just fascinated in the question of housing creation, how it can be developed and afforded. And I really want to try to help bring that information to the public as much as possible so that we can construct and develop more affordable housing in the community. Because I consider myself, despite the fact that I have had the fortune of living in nice places, I consider myself to be pretty housing insecure and basically living at the whim of landlords. Even when they're nice people, it's the reality for me. And I know a lot of people have a even more difficult situation. So happy to be here. Thank you.
So Hennessy's, I don't have any other hands up, but I do want to note the attendance of Antoinette Martinez, Beverly Kleiman, Cindy Vanden Bosch, Patricia Ruiz, and Griselle Amador. I have another hand up. Elise Shuck.
Hi. So thank you so much for allowing me to join this committee. I really appreciate it. I just want to echo everything that John just said. I've lived in Brooklyn since November of 2002. I'm not from New York originally, but I've lived in CB7 since October or July 2008. And the reason why I'm joining this, or I'm interested in affordable housing, is because I feel like housing is a fundamental human right. And I think we need to have more affordable housing in Brooklyn. It's gotten very expensive to live here. I'm very fortunate with my housing, but thank you so much for allowing me to be here. I'm happy to join the group. Thanks.
Thank you. Unless Hennessy's tells me to stop, I'm going to keep going. I have Michelle De La Uz next, Fifth Avenue Committee.
Hi, everybody. Nice to see several of you that I've known for a while and Nice to meet those that I don't know yet. I'm Michelle Delaus. I'm the Executive Director of the Fifth Avenue Committee. I just wanted to join to hear some of the questions. Hennesis and Antoinette have been kind enough to invite us back at a future meeting to present a number of FACT projects. But I understand you're probably going to be talking about some of the questions tonight. So I just wanted to hear them firsthand.
Thank you. And I don't see any additional hands up.
Hey. All right. It's good to hear from everybody who participated. We will have more time later on to introduce ourselves if we haven't today on future meetings. I'm gonna share the agenda on the screen so I can overview it with all of you. Give me 1 second. So the next on the agenda, we're going to review briefly the last meeting's minutes. Then we are going to talk about new business. We will talk about the new COVID Emergency Eviction and Foreclosure Act and the new money to help people with arrears. Also talk about some community concerns, including the new projects regarding affordable housing and the library that are coming to the community, besides others. And we want to hear from all of you, questions that you may have, any ideas and concerns, okay? So, I have to switch. I'm also learning how to use Zoom. So I just wanted to go briefly over the last agenda, the last meeting's agenda, because we have not met in a long time. I was not even present at all of these meetings. So we had a meeting in August. Back then, Marcela used to be the chair. She was the chair of the housing committee, and it was a presentation regarding gentrification in our community and how Sunset Park is affected. It was a multimedia presentation, and we have various community members present about it. If you want, I can share this minutes with you later on. I'll share our new email so that you can send questions. But I guess there's not much to talk about because it was mostly about the rezoning, intra-city rezoning, which has been a resolved matter already. And in September, the committee also met to talk about FACT's affordable housing development, which we are planning to talk about later. And this is the last information we have. I'll share this later during the meeting because Antoinette will mention it. And I am guessing some of these things already changed. Not sure, but next week we will have a presentation from FACT, Fifth Avenue Committee. So if you can, take a look at these numbers because they may or not be relevant anymore. We are not sure. And
it's much more complete than that at this point.
Yeah, I suspect.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but just in case people have questions, I'll share this later again.
Chair, does that say that's from 2019?
This
is that a typo?
Yes, it is from 2019. The Housing Committee, I believe, did not meet during 2020.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think there was a meeting in December, but I didn't have a chance to upload the minutes. I could share that later if you request. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Give me 1 second. So I would love to go over with you about new business, things that are happening with our state and programs that have come up. So I put together this small presentation. Please do not mind my skills on doing this stuff. So recently we had, I'm sure a lot of you are aware of this, but we had a COVID Emergency Eviction and Foreclosure Act. We had a Foreclosure Act. It was passed in December 28 last year, and it froze all the cases in housing court until March 1st, 2021. This prohibited the cases from going forward, existing cases from going forward in housing court if the tenants were to file, if the tenant filed a hardship declaration, which now has been extended until August 31st, 2021. So if the tenant filed this before May 1st, it will have prevented landlord from starting a case against them if they didn't have a case already. And now, because it got extended, if the landlord has not started a case against the tenant, this act will also prevent the landlord from starting a case on or before August 31st. And these exclude cases that are where the landlord is claiming that the tenant is a danger to others. And also it allowed tenants to reopen defaults, to open default cases, right? Like a lot of tenants were not able to go to housing court at the beginning of the pandemic, but now because of this act, they can go back to housing court and reopen the case and prevent an eviction against them. So tenants can file a hardship declaration online by going to evictionfreeny.org. It's very easy. The website will send it to the landlord and the housing court via certified mail return receipt, and it will provide the tenant with a tracking number. And it covers tenants from COVID-related financial hardship and those who are moving, and those who may be affected by an eviction or moving out of their apartments because of their age or disability. Okay. Landlords are also required under this act to send a copy of the hardship declaration so that the tenant is aware and able to file it. If you go to this website, newyorkcourts.gov/EEFPA, you can find the hardship declaration in multiple languages, including Spanish and Chinese and Arabic, which are the most dominant languages in our community. The hardship, the COVID Emergency Eviction and Foreclosure Prevention Act also protects small homeowners facing foreclosure in New York State. And they can also file a hardship declaration on the link provided. Again, I can send that link. I can send you the presentation of the link later on. Maybe I can put it on the chat later. Or if you just send me an email, I can send you this information, or an email to Jeremy requesting it. Okay. And again, this ad will cover owners from COVID-related financial hardship. Okay, but they must prove that they are a small homeowner. They must have less than 10 units, 10 or less units, and must be an individual, not a corporation. There's also money that came from the federal government to New York State. So we had about $2.4 billion coming to New York State recently. And the money finally is being, the state, Cuomo is working on organizing this program, and it will open at the end of May. So tenants and landlords will be able to apply for assistance with back rent. And assistance for mortgage payments via this program, okay? And people are able to apply on the, using this website. Again, the program is not open yet, but it's expected to be open at the end of May. I am mentioning all of this information because there's a lot of people in the community who are being affected with rent and with mortgage payments. A lot of people who live in our communities live in non-rent regulated apartments, or they own 2-3 family homes, and they have tenants who have not been able to pay rent in few months. So these are some of the qualifications. So people have to prove that they are low income. They have to be at or below 80% of the AEMI. That means a family of 3 making no more than $85,950. Also, the household member must receive unemployment benefits or has experienced reduction in the income or incur a significant loss or experience a significant hardship, directly or indirectly due to COVID-19, on or after March 13, 2020. So the program will not cover rental arrears that happened before the pandemic, before this date. So that's something to know. A lot of people are applying for, a lot of people are in court from previous cases, or they're, experiencing hardship before the pandemic, and it will not cover them. There may be other programs that they may qualify, but we can talk about that later if we want to do maybe housing training for our community to learn more about these programs. And again, if you're a small property owner, you also need to prove that you live there. That's your primary residence, and you owe less than 20 units, and that the hardship started after May 13. And one important thing is that citizenship is not going to be required. This application will not ask people for their immigration status. So, which is, I believe, is super beneficial compared to the last time. Most people did not qualify in New York State. And only about, I think 100 million was allocated for rental assistance. And now we have 2.4 billion. So it will be so much better. Antoinette, you have a question, but I don't understand it.
Oh, no, I was just asking something unrelated in the chat.
Okay.
I got it.
Also, really wanted to mention that in March, the governor passed protection for our small businesses, and they can also do a hardship declaration. So the COVID-19 Emergency Protect Our Small Businesses Act of 2021 was enacted I think March 9, 2021, and provides relief measures to protect small businesses in New York State. It protects them from eviction and foreclosure, but they must prove that they have less than 50 employees, 50 or less employees reside in New York State, and they are an independent owned and operated business and not dominant in the field. And also they must prove that, the act also prohibit landlords from starting a case for non-payment or holdover against those tenants, those commercial tenants, small businesses. And it was until May 1st, 2021, but as of May 3rd, it has also been extended until August 31st. So if you know a lot of some small businesses in the community struggling with rent payments, let them know about this information. And they can also find the hardship declaration and more information about it right here on this website. And again, we can provide this information later on. That's all I wanted to say on that matter. I don't know if you have any questions. You mute yourself and feel free to ask or raise your hand.
I had one question.
Mm-hmm.
Please just use, John, please, and for everybody, please just use the raise hand function. No, you're fine. I'm just telling everybody.
Sorry about that.
Sure. I'm just wondering the money that presumably pays for these. You mentioned federal funding. Is that the source of funding for all of these? I guess I'm also wondering about the legislation that has pushed off evictions and like, is there any source of funding to cover people's back rent or anything like that? Or is just like where is any associated funding coming from?
So in New York City, we have before the pandemic, New York City has funding for rental arrears, and one of the main source of funding is a one-shot deal with HRA, Human Resources Administration, and HRA covers. It can help people with back rent and also utility arrears. That's New York City. Human Resources Administration. But now the federal government approved funding. So we have 2.4 billion coming to the state of New York. And that money will be distributed through the emergency rent relief program, which will open again at the end of May. I don't know if that answers your questions. That's just special federal grant to cover rent arrears that were initiated after the pandemic, not before the pandemic.
Okay. Yes, my only, I guess, related question is there expected to be like a huge backlog of rent that people are going to be asked to pay later on, like after August or at some point in the future? And is there any bucket of funding that could help with that? Or is that going to get waived or?
So far, New York State has not passed any legislation to cancel rent payments. So tenants are still responsible to pay rent, just like small homeowners are still responsible to pay their mortgage. So no, there's no legislation for that. So the new program will fund up to 12 months of rental arrears accrue after May 13. And if the landlord is the one applying, the small property owner, they must have the tenant sign, and they cannot bring a case against that tenant for a whole year. It also will protect tenants who live in non-regulated apartments, like 2-3 family homes, because the landlord will, if the landlord applies for the funding, it will prevent them from starting a case for after a year from the day that they receive this funding against the tenant. So although there's no money after that, let's say they get the money for, for the last 12 months of rental arrears accumulated, they will not get more money after that. Because I don't think there's any program approved yet for that. But they will be protected from eviction in some cases. There's two different things happening, right? We have the moratorium, which is something from New York State that Governor Cuomo approved. The state assembly and the Senate worked very hard for that, and a lot of the community activists. And there was a big coalition of tenants and homeowners who fought for this moratorium. It was first until June 2020, then it got extended until I think August, then January 1st, then May 1st, and now August 31st. That's New York State. The money is federal grants coming into New York State. Those are two different programs. And the federal government that I know have not approved any funding through this program for small businesses, besides the moratorium that I know of. But I'm sure there's other resources. And if that's something that community members are interested in, we can bring an expert to present on these topics, maybe for small business, for homeowners and tenants, and if maybe small businesses too, people who are renting. Yeah, I'm not a whole expert on the topic, but it takes a long time to explain every single little aspect of all of this legislation that are happening right now. So
I don't see additional hands up. Michelle De La Uz has been posting some information about the restaurant fund and services that Fifth Avenue Committee provides. But I see no additional hands.
Thank you, Michelle. Yeah, she's mentioning Fifth Avenue Committee is helping people with the rental assistance emergency relief program. which is very good. I'm sure you're also assisting people file the hardship declaration. I know Voces Ciudadanas, a community organization here, is also helping people file the hardship declaration. And I believe also Center for Family Life. And yes, there is funding mentioned here on the chat for small restaurant and certain small businesses. Okay. Any other question?
I have one hand up. It's Nick Azadian.
I guess I can go. Okay.
Okay.
I think really where John was going with this is there going to be a balance of additional funding, or is this it? Primarily because I think as of about a month ago, there was about $6 billion in arrears in New York State in terms of rents. So while it's good that the federal government and the state have pony up approximately $2 to $3 billion, you're still looking at about $3 billion in arrears, which, if nothing is done, will significantly impact people's credit, or basically make it so that people have extreme difficulty in renting in the future. Small businesses, which have extremely limited, if pretty much no rights when it comes to eviction proceedings from landlords, will be largely forced out, and there would be a large amount of defaults as well. So I think that's really the basis of the question, and one question that we would probably have for our assembly member and possibly state senators to see if there's any more help coming.
That's a good question. Again, all I know is that we do have money in the city of New York allocated to help people with rental assistance through the HRA program, Human Resources Administration, but that's city funding. The state funding already finished. That was, I think, the first emergency rent relief program from the state was up to June or July, and then it got extended until August, and then that's it. No more state funding. So I am not 100% sure. I think this is a fight that we must continue because people are getting arrears, like you mentioned, and maybe that's something we can talk later on, and maybe invite our assembly person and Senate to talk about what are they doing to make sure that people are not falling behind and end up evicted. Thankfully, right now, what they have gained in the state assembly, the state legislature, is just the moratorium to prevent eviction, but there's no extra money allocated for this, and it is definitely a challenge. So, yeah, I get it.
I have Michelle De La Uz next.
I was just gonna kind of building off what Hennessy and Nick were saying. You have to remember that, there was a program for $100 million that the state, it was federal money, that was original COVID rent relief, a federal money that went to the state that HCR administered, and only $40 million got out the door out of the $100 million to begin with. Mm-hmm. And some of that's being reprogrammed towards this second round. And I Nick is right. Like, this is not like this 2.4 billion doesn't meet the need, right? To John's point, but they got to get the money out the door. And that's why they have the eligibility requirements at 80% of area median income and below. Like, they're targeting it to like the people most at risk of eviction and displacement. And then I think once states, get this money out the door, then like there has to be a reevaluation and more advocacy, honestly, at the federal government, I think, to have more money to come to states to deal with this crisis. But there was an affordable housing crisis before the pandemic hit, right? Homelessness was high, people, rent burden, not enough affordable housing. And so COVID's just exacerbated an already existing problem. So I've got to keep the fight up, is all I got to say.
I have no additional hands up.
Okay, thank you, Michelle. We can go to the next part of the agenda. That way we don't end the meeting at 10 p.m. if nobody has more questions. So the next part of the agenda is really to talk about community concerns and hear about, any proposals that you may have. Antoinette will take on, but we definitely are trying to shape the community so we can, talk about affordable, other issues that you mentioned before when introducing yourself, affordable housing, and rezonings, and how we can fight better for the resources in our community, right? So Antoinette, please take on.
Yeah, just to add on to what Genesis was saying, we really want to shape this committee in a way where we're working more collaboratively, sorry, we're working more together as opposed to just, folks coming in, giving a presentation and us, scrambling to wrap our heads around like what's going on in the community. So, and also Genesis and I have also been receiving emails from, different folks in the community, different community member chairs. And we don't want to dictate the direction that we're going in. We really want to make sure that we're working together, and we're addressing, and we're finding ways to address all of the concerns in an adequate way. So here's a list of different concerns and proposals for next meetings. And something that we were also considering was thinking about shaping the housing committee in a way that we can set up different working groups. So we wanted to throw that idea to see how folks were receptive to that. So just taking a quick look at the list, there's one idea from a community member to look at Sunset Park and survey and take a survey of what plots of land are currently available, and taking that up to conduct a further study looking at affordable housing options within Sunset Park. I know John is on the line, and a couple of years ago, we had some NYU students who did a really in-depth look at affordable housing options in Sunset Park. So we don't want to lose sight of the work that was already done. We sort of want to build on that and not forget about it. So that's one idea. Another idea is to host a housing rights workshop. And also, I know Michelle is on, and she'll be giving a presentation on June 1st to talk about the FACT Sunset Park Library project, the senior housing project on 63rd Street and 4th Avenue, and also the 50th Street rehab project. And we should think about some questions that we want to bring to that meeting. And FACT is going to be able to provide Spanish translation for that meeting. So we're really excited and grateful for that. And so that's another thing that's going on. But for community outreach about the Sunset Park Library project, so that's going to be active on Housing Connects, which is the city's portal for folks to apply. That should go up pretty soon. I know Michelle, she has the dates off handy, but I'm not quite sure if people in the community know exactly when that'll be up and coming. So I was hoping to form a working group, or anyone who's interested in spreading the word out to folks, especially for people who might not be tech savvy or comfortable, just thinking about ways where we can provide the paper application for them, or just making folks aware that this is something that's available. Another idea from a community member was to have a meeting with Council Member Carlos Menchaca to gain more insight on the 747 4th Avenue rezoning and the logic and thought process behind the approval of that. Just so that there's transparency in the community and sort of to answer any questions from folks that might be lingering. We also received an email about very expensive housing plumbing inspections. So we want to make sure that we make space for that and think about ways that we can address community concerns about those inspection rates. And then we had also received another concern from a member about addressing housing accessibility options in Sunset Park. So perhaps that's another working group that we can think about forming. So I know this was a lot and kind of all over the place, but you know, I know we haven't met in a while, but these are just some of the topics and concerns that we've gotten. So we'd just like to have, you know, open conversation about the direction and expectations for people within this group, and your feelings about how we can prioritize some of the things that are already mentioned here.
Thanks, Antoinette. I think Michelle had a question.
I just wanted to share that I unfortunately do not have a date yet of when the applications will be available for the library and affordable housing project, where some people may know that HPD is very, very short-staffed right now. And it's delaying a number of things. And this is one of them. But as soon as I have that information, I'll let you know. And I definitely want to thank the community board for helping to get the word out about the 3 virtual info sessions that we did have. We had over 800 people at the 3 info sessions, the virtual info sessions, and all of that information is available. I'll put the link in the chat, that way people can look at it, help people understand how to apply. But I would welcome any outreach assistance once the applications are ready to go. That'd be great.
What is the link for? Not for the application, right?
No, we don't have the application yet. The link is to the info sessions where we describe everything about the project and how to set up a Housing Connect 2.0 profile.
And
Yeah, so
Michelle,
we're gonna have, I guess, our own info session on June 1st. So I hope everybody here can attend to learn more and ask your questions to Fifth Avenue Committee regarding this project.
There are several hands up now, and you muted yourself also. Hannah says you muted yourself. Okay.
Yes, Nick was next.
2 items. One, I really want to thank you guys for convening this meeting, given that really the need in the neighborhood, and this being our first meeting in 2 years. I would encourage you guys to have more regular meetings moving forward. As a committee member, obviously, I'd be happy to participate along with probably everybody else on this call. But just based on the real need that we have, this should be one of our more active committees, participating. Secondly, I'm fairly familiar with the housing plumbing inspection stuff. So if you want to discuss any of that, I can tell you all about it. And there's a couple of the things that we should probably be advising homeowners as to what they should and should not be doing, so that they don't inadvertently cause gas shutoffs, which are a real pain to try to undo from a utility. So we can talk about that later if you'd like.
Nick, would you mind mentioning a little bit more about these applications? Like 1 minute, maybe explaining what it is?
Sure. So local law, I believe 153, which was passed by the city council a couple of years ago, mandated that all gas installations for any kind of 3-family building or larger required, I think it's either every 4 years, a inspection from a master plumber. And it's only permitted to be done by a master plumber. So you can't use an architect or an engineer, or I'd be doing them. You have to be very careful, because what some of these plumbers are doing is that they will go around to the houses and they have a gas meter set up or a gas sensor set up that's linked to the Department of Buildings. So even if there's an extremely minor leak that does not pose any danger immediately, that can sometimes trigger an immediate gas shutoff once they notify the Department of Buildings. and then the utility will shut off gas. So if this is done in the middle of winter time, you know, a lot of the building infrastructure is done via gas heating. So the building can be left without gas for sometimes weeks at a time, just because of how long it takes to, one, repair the gas installation, and then two, get the utility to come back out and turn the gas back on. And so some of the unscrupulous contractors will come around and they'll do the inspection, have the gas turned off because it's not right, and get paid to quote unquote do the inspection, only to have to come back out to get paid again after it was fixed or not fixed. And so you really want to make sure you get a good contractor to come in and do it, number one. And then number two, I would recommend having an unofficial test, if you will, prior to the real one, just to make sure that if there is a leak that you're notified beforehand, rather than it going directly to the Department of Buildings and the utility, so that you can get it fixed prior to having the gas shut off in the building.
Thank you, Nick. Jeremy, I know a number of community members had reached out to you about this. Do you have a recommendation on someone that could possibly come in for a presentation on that? And Nick, if you would be willing to help take lead on helping with that presentation for community members?
The information I got and I sent to them was from the Department of Buildings, so I could certainly ask the Department of Buildings for an appropriate speaker on the issue.
Wonder if National Grid has somebody as well. Not so much.
I could certainly reach out to them as well.
I have some information I'd like to share regarding local law 152. Am I recognized?
Recognize some topic.
We can't hear you, Joan. You need to unmute.
Joan, we lost you. Are you muted?
Yeah, she.
Oh,
I think-
okay, got
oh,
it. Wouldn't go up for a second, but anyway, I want to pick up on what Nick was saying. Local law 152 is very, very important for people to understand that it has to be done. And within Community Board 7, that we are now required by December the 31st to have it done. And everyone that lives in a building, condo, co-op, or private house that has 3 units and more are required to have this test done. And it's required to have it done by a licensed plumber. I had it done. Thank God everything went well. Our plumber submitted his findings and his report to the buildings department, and the buildings department in turn emailed me confirmation for each one of my buildings, which are 8 condos here I'm the president of, that we are now in compliance. So, and if it's not done within this time frame by December the 31st, it's a $10,000 fine, and Beverly informed me that they will also shut off the gas if you do not have it done by the allotted time. I was talking to someone today that lives in within Board 10's confines, and they have to have it done by the end of June. And she had no clue of what I was talking about until I went through the whole explanation. So anyone that's watching, if you were in a condo, co-op, or in a private home that has 3 individual tenants, then please inform your board or your landlord. Just want to say. Okay, that's it, guys. Have a good one. I'm going to mute myself again.
Thank you, John, for sharing. We definitely should have a presentation. So we we'll do, I guess, yeah, we're gonna try to reach out to the Department of Buildings and National Grid and any other suggestion that you may have, let us know, or Jeremy, so that we can work on this and let the community know about it. Next is Cindy.
Yeah, thank you so much for convening this meeting. I just want to echo Nick that I hope we meet on a more regular basis. And I'm obviously the chair of the Ability and Access Committee, and reached out about the issue of affordable housing and accessibility. I do think the potential of a working group is interesting. Just I hope that we can get working groups actually working. So that's my only concern there. But one of the things that the reason that I wanted to raise this is that, you know, even the comptroller's report from a study that was done in 2017, it said that 65% of people with disabilities in New York were either unemployed or not looking for work. And for those who were working, they were paid 20% less than people without disabilities, and over 1/3 were working part-time. And so the nexus between the experiences of people with disabilities that live in our district and in the city and the sort of challenges that people face finding affordable housing, much less accessible housing, is very challenging. And so what I was hoping that we could do is really investigate and inform community board members and community members about what is currently required. Like when an MIH proposal comes in front of us, you know, how many of the apartments that are technically accessible are going to people who don't have disabilities? What are the requirements that are sort of baked in? And I know we have some people on the community board who are informed in this regard, but certainly not everyone. And so when zoning proposals come up, I'd like for us to be kind of more informed on that front. I also think that there's a space and a place for us to be looking at models in terms of Section 8 developments, and you know, put a spotlight on Section 8 developments where adaptations have been made for people with disabilities, so we can kind of lift up positive examples. But I also think one of the biggest challenges that we have in the district is that we have a lot of smaller scale buildings where maybe an elevator is impossible. What do we do about this in the longer term? And I want us to be like thinking strategically about how we're seriously addressing this issue, as well as other accessibility concerns. So for example, apartments.com, it was just announced in the news, that was one of many other housing databases. There's also government-sponsored databases where, you know, are they accessible to people who use screen readers who are blind? Are there options where they can search for accessible housing? In a lot of cases, people have to kind of reach out and ask and do a lot of extra work and investigating, and it just shouldn't be that hard. And so these are the kinds of things that I would like us to take a look at. We have in the past, just so that everyone is aware of this, we have brought in MOPD's Project Open House, and they have done a presentation about a funding program for adaptations to existing buildings with some examples. But I think it would be great to have an update on how much money is being spent and has that been used in our district. And if, you know, so that I just think that there are many ways in the city, state, and federal level that we can be more informed as a community board and a community to advocate for improved access to affordable, accessible housing for people with disabilities and their family members. So I just wanted to share those concerns. And last but not least, if we're going to do a meeting like this, I want to make sure that we have advocates present at the meeting who can participate in that conversation. And I'm happy to work with you guys on that.
Thanks, Cindy. Sorry about that. We definitely will look into that. I think it's important to talk about that. I think maybe that could also be combined with a housing rights presentation that Antoinette mentioned earlier. Yeah, so let's talk about it. Let's follow up and let's see how we can make that happen.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping that we can actually like bring in disability advocates and have a dedicated meeting where or a series of meetings where we have people who are able to speak to, for example, like how Project Open House is being utilized, if it's being utilized in our district. So there's several, I do see this as an I don't know if we pair this with another presentation. I want to make sure that we're able to like organize and bring people into the room who can sort of share their specialized knowledge in this particular area, which is obviously kind of a big topic.
Yeah, I agree with that. And it sounds like it's something that would need to be a little bit more involved than just having a sole presentation, something like a working group, maybe like a series, definitely in collaboration with the group that you lead. I'm not sure if there have been any previous conversations about this.
Yes.
But yeah, I think that this is something that I guess like there's a lot of different things. So I think, we should just hear everything that's on the table and then see how we can divide and conquer, just to see like who's interested in taking lead on different presentations that we have lined up. That way, I guess, because at least for me, I don't want this to just be like, we meet 4 times a year, we have one presentation, someone comes in, and then it just, we're being talked to rather than us having productive conversations on how we can really troubleshoot and tackle different community issues.
Yeah, and I agree with that. And I think that's kind of what I'm trying to articulate. And this was something that the Ability and Access Committee set as a priority for the year. And I did reach out about that a couple of times. So, I do want us to have, I'm not saying that I just want people to come in and give a presentation. I actually want us to tackle this very challenging and complex topic over time. And certainly the Ability and Access Committee is ready to do that with the Housing Committee.
Right, and what I'm saying is that we have to feel out the capacity within the Housing Committee, and we haven't met in a while, and these are just the concerns that Genesis and I putting up front. But we want to hear from everyone. If anyone has any other ideas, and also ideas about how we can tackle, and address these different issues.
Thank you.
And I really like the idea of, if we decide to go through this, to do all this training, a series will be something very interesting. So I'll share the email that we created, a Gmail account for CB7 Housing Committee. And if you have any questions, please feel free to send us an email on that email, or just email Jeremy directly in the community board, and they will forward those questions to us. Also, if you are interested in joining, or working with, let's say, Cindy, right, on accessibility, or I don't know, doing more, interested in doing outreach regarding the new projects that are coming in, affordable housing projects that are coming to the community. Those are things that we would like members to come forward and also, bring your leadership. We don't want to be the only ones talking and hosting everything. Let's see who's next. John Santor.
Thank you. I'll just try to be quick here because I know a couple other people who have their hands raised haven't had a chance to speak yet. I like all of the ideas that have been spoken of so far. If there is going to be some sort of like subcommittees formed or groups of people within the Housing Committee that are going to focus on specific issues, if there was a way to distribute that publicly or to let the committee members know what are the options, I think that would be good. I maybe something on the CB7 website or just some way of letting us know what the potential initiatives are that we can plug into. I think that would be very helpful. I just wanted to very briefly, just say a couple things. I think that regarding so one of my main interests is just helping to get information to the public about how you create and maintain affordable housing in this community. I think the more information we've got, the more it allows everyone to visualize potential options and understand what we can advocate for, understand what we can call for, what we can press our elected officials for. Regarding the housing survey, I just looked again at the NYU study that was done. It looks like they went between 3rd Avenue and 8th Avenue and between 39th and 62nd. There's certainly a lot to look at in that report, but I think we should do the entire community from maybe 25th or 30th Street all the way up to 65th and between the waterfront and or at least like 2nd and 3rd Avenue all the way to 8th Avenue or even beyond, and we can put all of that information together. I think we could look at all different sorts of properties, vacant properties, underutilized properties. I would love for this committee to bring people in and to host discussions about the economics of affordable housing construction. How do you build affordable housing? How do you get the land? How do you get the space? How much does it cost? How do you make it affordable to people? What are the options out there? How is it built in this city? How is it built in this country? How is it built in the world? I would like to point out, and this is a theoretical point, but I think it's true, our state assemblywoman was endorsed by the Democratic Socialists of America. Our next city council member might be someone who is endorsed by the Democratic Socialists of America. Now that's either a buzzword that you use to get canvassers and get elected, or it means something. And if it means anything, one of the things it means, to my understanding, is a different relationship between the government and who controls land. And is that something real? Is that something we can advocate for? Is that something we can call for? Regarding the last thing I'll say is regarding the 737 project, and I understand it's just one project and it needs to be contextualized within a much more complex situation. And I say this without any disparagement meant on the people who were involved in making that project happen. But I think part of the problem, in my opinion, was that the economics of that project were never explained to the community. We learned on March 3rd of this year that that was a $100 million project. I mean, I think the conversation, one of the things that the public needs to understand is how much does it cost to build housing? And on March 3rd, Totem told us that it cost $100 million to build 135 units of housing. People need that kind of information. They need to know whether that's a good deal or a bad deal. I don't think the council member ever explained any of his economic calculus for why he thought this was a good deal. Again, I trust and respect the motives and the work of people on this board, people in the community, housing advocates who have been doing this work for years. But I think we need to explain these things to the public so that we can understand what our options are and so that we can meaningfully engage in the work of advocating for affordable housing construction. So I would like to be part of all of that and help in any way that I can. And I think the more knowledge that we bring out into the public domain and the more things we explain to people, the more constructive the conversation will get, and we'll give ourselves new and better and more interesting options for how to develop and maintain affordable housing in this community. So thank you very much. I'm looking forward to helping in any way that I can.
Thank you, John. John Fonteles.
Thanks, Hennessy's. I also want to just add, lift up your efforts and say, although, you know, I love everybody on the board, as you know, I think under your and Antoinette's leadership, this committee could be primed to make responsive and effective change as you guide the committee over the next couple of years. So I applaud you guys and want to help in any way I can. The intersection, I think, of land use and housing, I think, comes to this issue of the data that reflects gentrification and displacement. And the struggle we had during the NYU project, and as you know as well, during Industry City, was trying to find that database of information where we could actually describe what was going on in the community relative to rents and housing prices, related to the demographics and the economics of families, also in Sunset Park. And as you know, most of the surveys that get this information, they lag behind in terms of time. The American Community Survey is only every other year or every couple of years. The census has just been done, yes, but it's only a snapshot in time. And I don't know if there's a way to really understand sort of the micro level of where things are going in a particular neighborhood. But I do think we need to try and make a best case effort to get that information, that data, so we have a common language in which to speak of things. Because John, you raised 737. I think from my point of view, the struggle on that project was trying to understand a impact on the neighborhood, based on what we what a conjecture would be as to how that development would shift rents. The idea is that if the building was built, how does the impact of those families that are moving into that building affect 5 blocks, a block away, 5 blocks away, 10 blocks away, and what that impact would be overall on housing in the entire district. And it always comes up, as you know, in every project that we look at. What is the effect of that one project on the neighborhood? And then how do we value that against all the other things that are going on in the neighborhood? And it's not, I'm not trying to dump a whole lot of other work on the committee, but I think it's critical to try and find a way to describe what's going on in the community. And frankly, I don't know how. I know there are certain databases that we go to and the data that we look at that's maybe out of date by the time we look at it. I know Michelle's Fifth Avenue Committee did a report, a year ago. I would say maybe some of those numbers are maybe out of date already. It's hard to try and keep track of all this stuff that's going on. But I think we have to make a best case effort to try and do it, to keep ourselves honest as to what's going on in the neighborhood. So I'll leave it at that. But it just seems it's one of these things that we got to have some sort of way to describe collectively what's going on, or else we're talking different languages.
Thanks, John. Let's try to move quickly. Elise?
Thank you. I just want to say that I'm happy to volunteer for community outreach for the library project. If you decide to do a working group kind of approach, I'm happy to help out with that.
Thank you. Maria Roca?
Okay, hi everybody. Glad to have joined as a community member and looking forward to a lot of hard work. As everybody mentions, everyone who has spoken, lots of good hard work awaits us. I want to quickly just say something that came to mind as Cindy was speaking about accessibility. And this was a conversation I had about 3 years ago with people who at a social gathering who had been involved in accessibility issues in the past and whatnot. But expecting, one of the things that came out was that expecting that new construction was going to improve the number of units that are truly accessible, not only to people with mobility challenges, but also the elderly, as mobility is one of the issues that affects many elderly people, or lack thereof, was that the preservation of existing rent-regulated or affordable housing is goes hand in hand with accessibility. So as John mentioned about land use and housing, clearly there has to be a lot of collaboration between this committee and other committees on the board. But there was, going back to accessibility, the issue of chair lifts that can be mounted, installed after the fact in an existing building. There's been talk that hasn't hit the front page of any newspaper, but what is the role of Medicaid, Medicare, and the VA in providing that accessibility the same way they provide other mobility improvements to their members, or and so that is a conversation that I think we, as the housing committee, in collaboration with the accessibility committee, can advance, because there's lots of good things that can come out of that. Could be part of the infrastructure money that Washington DC is talking about the industry of creating this equipment in the United States, building it here if it's not being built here already. It is not complicated equipment. We're sitting with thousands and thousands of square feet of empty space down on the waterfront, and helping a company or two create all of that equipment for the Northeast, for example. So there's a lot of, the waterfront, Economic Development Committee in conjunction with the Accessibility Committee, in conjunction with Housing. And so I just don't want to let go of that vision. No one committee can cover everything, because all of this is intertwined. All of this, and one of the problems I think we've had, not in Sunset Park, but the city and many cities, is that things are done in silos, and we know it doesn't work. We already know that doesn't work. So I look forward to those conversations across the aisle, committee to committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria. So we covered a lot of different ideas. If anyone is interested in sharing something that we might have missed, we'd love to hear your ideas. I'm trying to keep notes and put together just a different list of working group ideas that we can disseminate after this meeting to see where people's interests lay and how we can move forward. But if there is anything else that folks are interested in, please raise your hand and share your ideas.
Also, if you have any questions regarding the library housing project and any other Fifth Avenue Committee projects coming up, send us an email. You can send an email to CV7 directly. I put it on the screen, or you can just write it on the chat right now so that we can start collecting that. And that way we can make sure that they do their best to answer those questions June 1st.
I don't see additional hands up.
All right. So we are going to adjourn the meeting for now. We are going to take all of these comments into consideration. We are going to see if we can soon host a presentation where people can learn about Local 152. It seems to be something very important for the community, and then see how we can work on accessibility and also affordable housing. And we will have more details about all of this and how we can have these working groups soon at the next meeting. We don't have a date for the next committee meeting. Sorry, we have a meeting on June 1st, but it's for a presentation. And we will work with Jeremy to schedule the next meeting, most likely in June, if you don't mind. I know we usually don't have meetings in the summer, but we would like to keep the ball rolling so that we don't have all this, information accumulated until September. It's a lot of things to talk about.
Right, and just a quick technical question, Jeremy, with this platform of Zoom, are we able to break out into working groups? Does this version of Zoom have that capability?
I believe into breakout rooms. I
Yeah,
believe it
breakout
does.
room, there we go.
I don't think so. We could check with Beta NYC to see if that's the case.
Okay,
If not, we can look into the cost for it for the next fiscal year, which starts July 1st.
okay. Yeah, because if we're thinking about tackling these different issues, maybe we can use that feature and break out into groups to talk about different issues.
We could look into it.
Thank you.
I'm writing our Gmail account on the screen. In case you have any other question, you might send that directly to the chair and the vice chair, CB7 Housing Committee @gmail.com. I know Maria asked on the chat. And please CC the community board BK07 at cb7.nyc.gov. Very important. That's the official CB7 email. Natasha?
We need it to come to the community board because it's part of the official record. We need to keep it archived.
It's BK07 at cb.nyc.gov.
It's on the screen.
So I'm sorry, does that mean that we should not send emails to the CB7 Housing Committee at Gmail? Or can we just, is that just something that Hennessy's and Antoinette would see?
I need it sent to BK07 for public record.
So Jeremy,
if you contact them outside of that, please make sure to CC me.
and Jeremy, just another technical question. If we have on Gmail a separate shared folder where we want to keep presentations and just other documents for members, would that be okay, or does that have to go to be under the official?
So it needs to come through the board. We could certainly put it on our Google Drive and make it available that way. But all the public records needs to be part of our archive.
Okay, perfect.
Jeremy, can I ask one more question about the Google Drive there that you just mentioned?
Yes.
Are you able to link to that on the website?
John, we can't do much with our website. We are in the process of working with Department of Information Technology and Telecommunications to get an upgrade of our website. So we will be able to put all of this, including webcasting our meetings, on our website.
Okay, but as of now, you don't have the.
As of now, we don't have that capability. I'm hopeful by the end of the summer we will.
Okay, thank you.
Any other question before we adjourn? Pat Ruiz?
Hi, I'm sorry. I just wanted to confirm that email address that you have there. The word committee, is that with 2 E's, 1 E? Are we using this email as a carbon copy or not?
We created this email so that we can also have,
No,
so that we
no,
can
I'm
have an easier access
questioning
to our
that.
Google Drive.
I'm not questioning that. What I'm questioning is the spelling of committee. Is it with 2 E's, 1 E? So
Uh,
this way, you know, it doesn't bounce
hold-
back. People say, you know, I just wanted to confirm the address.
Give me 1 second.
No problem. And if I'm correct, Jeremy, you're requesting that
It's
this stuff should really be going to the community board with a carbon copy to the Gmail for the housing
So,
committee. Please confirm.
We need to have a copy of the communication if it's on behalf of the board, and on behalf of the committee is on behalf of the board as part of the public record.
To avoid confusion, just send the email to bk07 at cv.nyc.gov. Okay, let's use that for now until we clarify everything.
You might need to set up like a distribution list and make sure that the correspondence also goes to the official community board. But yeah, I agree with Genesis. Let's just use this for now so we could work out the kinks.
Yes. Any other question?
Just thank you. I didn't mean to cause a problem. I just wanted clarification, but thank you guys so much.
No, thank you for clarifying. It was missing an E, so thanks.
And Michelle just mentioned again, so there's going to be that presentation on June 1st. If you have any questions, if you can send those over beforehand, that way we can make sure that they get to Michelle and to folks over at FACT. That way any of our concerns are addressed during the presentation. And again, they're going to be presenting on 3 different affordable housing units that are going up in the community. I actually went around for the last information session. These weeks have been like blurring into one into the other, but Maria was really helpful in helping to print about 900 flyers in various languages. And I went out handing them out to folks on 4th Avenue. And people were really interested in in learning more about the Sunset Park Library project. So we're gonna go back to our notes, but if there are folks who are interested and comfortable in doing that type of outreach, that might be one of the working groups, and just letting people know that it will be an information session happening on the 1st. I'll have to reach out to FACT to see if they have a flyer available, but that might be helpful just to get the word out so that folks can, if they miss the information session, that they'll be able to attend the live session.
Also, I forgot to mention earlier, the presentation on June 1st is not only going to be about the library housing project, but also about the senior housing project on 63rd and 4th Avenue, and also about 5th Avenue Committee's rehab project on 50th Street. So 3 different projects, okay? And I also put on the screen the last time we talked about 2 of these projects in the housing committee. And these are the notes that we're taking.
There's a hand up.
Elise, please.
So what time of day on June 1st is this meeting?
Jeremy? I believe it's at 6 p.m., but we have to.
At the moment, all of our meetings are 6 p.m. If the chair suggests a different time, we're certainly amenable to that.
Okay, thank you.
Is that a time that works for most of us?
Yes.
All right. If you have any concerns, just let us know, send us an email, and we will try to accommodate what works best for the majority. You have a question, Amador? Thanks.
No, thank you. No yet, thank you.
No problem. Okay, so thank you everyone for joining. We had a good attendance despite the two debates going on tonight. So we still have a little bit of time to join them and ask, questions, I think on the local one, District 38. So we will follow up. Hopefully you can attend June 1st, invite community members, bring somebody. It's very easy to join the meetings. People can also watch live on Facebook, and send your questions are very important. That way we can have a very good presentation and they can answer our concerns. And we will update you soon on the following meeting after that one and talk about working groups. And hopefully at that meeting, we're gonna divide on working sessions. So thank you. Good night.
Thank you. Thanks.
Have a good night, everyone.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night. Thank you. Good night.